Welcome to the UK PTs podcast, where we delve into the world of personal training one episode at a time. Here are your hosts, Joshua Mullen and Mark Laws.
So, Tanya, we'll start off and we will welcome you into the 27 Club. 3 rounds, each round comprising of 9 questions. It's quick fire, but the next person who answers the questions in the allotted time will be the first person. We aim for 90 seconds for each round, so you've got 10 seconds for each question and answer. Josh, my beautiful assistant, has his timer in his hand, which means we're good to go. Tanya, you ready?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, round 1, question 1. In which year did you qualify in your chosen profession?
I've never qualified. There isn't a qualification that you can have or hold.
Perfect. We will get onto that later. So that rules out question 2 and question 3. What was the last bit of CPD that you completed?
So I've just qualified as an NLP practitioner. That was in January, and November last year I did a communication masterclass with Cathy McDonald.
Nice. What is the next bit of CPD that you've got your eye on?
I'm enrolled to do my NLP masters in May and June this year. So that will take me through the rest of the year then.
Cool. So what is the highest level of qualification or education that you possess?
I guess that would be, so I've got an NVQ level 6 in customer and communications. So I think that's like a bachelor's degree level. I've never done a degree, never been to uni.
Cool. Should a personal trainer ever be reassessed? And if so, how often?
I think that would be a great strategy to bring into the industry. I would say every 6 or 7 years. It's like with a driving test for old people.
Exactly that. On a scale of 1 to 10, Tanya, how good are you at your job?
10.
Very good answer. Solid 10. Boom. Josh, over to you for round 2.
First of all, I love how aggressive that 10 was.
Yeah, well, it's self-belief, isn't it?
Yeah, that was an aggressive 10. I like it. Okay, round 2, whenever you're ready.
Round 2 is all about the industry. So, number 1, name the most underrated person, product, or thing in the fitness industry.
Cathy McDonald with her communication stuff in Lift the Bar.
Nice. Name the most overrated person, product, or thing.
James Smith.
Number 3, which book should all personal trainers read?
I would recommend Eckhart Tolle, The Power of Now.
Nice. Number 4, foam rolling, yes or no?
If it matters to you, yes.
Nice. Okay, I'm going to skip question 5. Question 6, which common fitness myth do you wish you could debunk forever?
That lifting weights makes you bulky.
This is true. It didn't work for me, so.
No, didn't work for me either. I'm doing it for years.
Question 7, what's the best piece of work-related advice you've ever been given?
Fuck everyone else. Do what you want.
Fair enough.
Who gave that advice? A stripper?
No, my dad.
Sorry, I think I might have listened to that in the wrong context.
Yeah. A little bit. Smidge. Who would be your ultimate fitness industry podcast guest?
I would love to interview Rich Froning. I think he'd be awesome.
Very nice. So last question, what are your favourite 3 exercises?
Deadlift, bicep curl, and lat pull down.
Nice. I thought you were going to just say deadlift and then just drop the mic and walk off.
we can edit it so that happens. Just like put a little tumbleweed across.
That's section 2. So round 3, Mark, you ready?
Okay, Tanya, yeah. Section 3 is a little bit more personal, so people get to know about you a little bit more. So, first question, cats or dogs?
Cats.
Favorite city you've ever visited?
Sydney.
If you could attend any concert, dead or alive, who would be playing or performing?
Oh, Elvis.
Oh, Elvis Costello, brilliant. What was the last television series that you watched or streamed an episode of?
It's some shitty American interior design thing on Netflix. I can't even remember what it's called, but I binge watched the entire thing in one Sunday.
Nice. If you could choose anybody to play you in a movie about your life, who would it be?
Barbara Windsor.
Nice. Tea or coffee? How do you take it?
Coffee, black, very hot. Tea, white, no sugar.
Oh, she's having both. Not one or the other, both. Bloody hell.
I can't choose between the two.
If I could give you the power of time travel, would you rather go back to speak to your ancestors or forwards to speak to your descendants?
Oh, back to speak to my ancestors, definitely.
Question 8. Would you rather shag a goat and nobody will ever know about it, or not shag the goat, but everybody will think that you have?
Not shag the goat.
Good
And
answer.
everybody think that I have, yeah.
Last question. Tanya, please tell us one thing that is still on your bucket list.
I think it's actually to travel around America, a road trip around America in an RV.
Cool.
Yeah, that's on my goals. That's my goals.
Nice. Is that you gonna get that planned imminently once lockdowns are loosened, or is it sort of like a 5-year plan?
It's like a 5-year plan because I actually want to buy an old school bus, an old American school bus, renovate it and drive that around.
Quality. Excellent. Very good. Tanya, you are now a member of the 27 Club.
Excellent. When do I get my t-shirt?
Well, we actually are. We have got t-shirts designed. We've got a logo designed and everything. We've got them made up. We just need to pull our fingers out of our asses and get them actually printed and shipped out to everybody. Josh, let's make that our challenge to do that this month. So we get that done. So then rather than just saying to everyone every week, you're going to get a t-shirt, people actually will get one. So yeah, you actually do get a t-shirt. Excellent.
So you've got 30 days before I start hassling you.
Okay. Oh, that's giving us. I was going to go for 21 days till the end of March, but you've given us an extra week. We'll put our feet up and have a chill out, Josh. Josh, do you want to start, as I finished off with the intro bit, have you got anything that you want to start with interview-wise?
Yeah, definitely. So
Go for it.
I've done my very, very brief research, and I see that generally speaking, you would class yourself as like a business coach or business consultant. So if somebody was watching right now that doesn't know you, how would you kind of classify your superpower? What would be your go-to statement to say what you do and who you are?
I help people define their best work, define their best product, and match them to their best clients on social media.
And is that like a mentored model or like a done for you model? How do you operate with people?
So it's mentoring.
Okay, nice. So what's kind of how did you get into that role? Was it by chance, or is that something you wanted to do for a while?
I've kind of always had in the back of my mind that coaching, mentoring was the direction that I want to go in, because I've been doing social media marketing for 12 years now. I started as a social media manager, and then the more that I did that, the more people asked me, could I train them? Could I train their staff? And it's kind of just organically kind of molded into business mentoring and marketing mentoring. It's difficult to categorize what you do, although you kind of have to for the social media bio section.
Yeah.
But it's really like defining what you do and who you help is like a very key part of my job.
Mhm.
So helping people understand what that means, but the impact that that has on their business and also their actual social profiles. It's very small element of what you would do as a fitness professional, but I think it has disproportionate impact when you understand it.
I think that's, yeah, massively agree with you on that one. So you've kind of grown into this coach / mentor. Has it always been within the fitness industry, or was that again something that you just found that you loved doing?
So the bulk of my work is in the fitness industry, purely because I spend so much time in and amongst it, because it's a passion of mine. I've been into health, fitness and wellness for a good 20 odd years. And I think because I understand it from the end user perspective, as well as the professional perspective, it gives me that extra insight and that extra layer to the work that I do. But I don't solely work with those industries. I've worked with, in the last 12 years, I've probably worked with over 300 different businesses, ranging from, like, one of my long-term clients is tool hire, plant and tool hire company. I consult and train their staff, estate agency, retail. I've worked with celebrities on their branding. So all kinds of industries, but the fitness industry is where my passion lies and where I think I can have the biggest impact.
Nice. So you mentioned earlier on about doing your NLP masters, I believe you said.
Yep.
So have you found that NLP has had a big impact on your clients and what they do with their clients? Like, do you pass that information on to them?
Yeah, absolutely. So motivational interviewing, being able to ask the best questions. And I think we've already said, yeah, motivational interviewing. Now you see, so it's being able to build rapport with your clients, or the people that you coach or the people that you mentor, is a fundamental part of the relationship and how you can coach them. If you don't have that rapport, if you don't have that understanding, it's uncovering those layers. Why don't people do certain things? What is it that's stopping them? So the stuff that I learn with limiting beliefs, with people's language styles, with their own mental blocks, I can pass on to my clients, and obviously it then creates a domino effect of being able to give them extra tools in their toolbox to make their work more impactful.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So this has been my kind of last bigger open question, then I'll pass it over to Mark for now. But so obviously you've worked with a lot of fitness industry business owners and personal trainers. Are there any kind of top pieces of advice you could give to someone watching this that maybe doesn't have their values aligned, or they're not really sure who they're trying to serve, that sort of stuff? What would be your top pieces of general advice?
Understand yourself. So what are your values? What is your purpose? What interests you? What excites you? What motivates you? And what inspires you? I don't think you can really build a business helping other people unless you understand yourself on a deep level, because you don't know your strengths and weaknesses. And if you don't know your strengths and weaknesses, you can't optimize anything within your business. Agreed.
Damn, knowledge. Right, off she goes. So Mark, I'll hand over to you for a few minutes, and then I've got some more questions.
Tanya, I'm just sort of like trying to join the dots together a little bit in the stuff that Josh was asking you there. And I'm sort of saying, on one hand, you get a lot of personal trainers who think that their potential client is everybody. And say, in the current climate, anyone who's got an internet connection anywhere in the world and they have a pulse, that is my potential client. And on the other hand, we're talking about if we really want to have a successful business, we need to determine a very, very specific demographic that we speak to in a very, very specific way.
Yeah.
Whereas if we're saying everybody with an internet connection is my potential client, but I'm just going to talk the way I talk, I'm going to communicate the way I communicate, then chances are I'm not going to attract any of the right people. But if I can tailor my personality, I don't have to change my personality, because the beauty of lockdown and online coaching and being able to attract clients all around the world is that now I just need to find the people that specifically relate and resonate to me with my personality or my ways of delivering things.
Yep.
But I need to specify who it is that I'm aiming for. I don't think there's even a question in there. It's just more of a statement of, I suppose, do you see the same thing? Do you see a lot of personal trainers doing the same thing? And how do they go about going away from this generic model to a more specific demographic?
Yeah, so you're absolutely right. There is this whole kind of, oh, well, I can help anyone. Like, there isn't a specific person I can help. I can help 80-year-old men, or I can help 18-year-old girls. And it's like, well, yeah, you can, but where is your best work? What is your best work? It's amplifying your personality. Like you've just said, it's ramping up the things that you're really good at, which is why this self-discovery work is so important. Because if you don't know what your personality is, if you've never done this deep work and you've never understood that, okay, well, my strengths lie in communication with my clients, so I need to work with people that are also good communicators, then you'll just flail around like a fish out of water for ages. And you might get a bunch of clients if your marketing is good, because marketing is the easy bit. Getting leads and getting clients is the easy bit, but getting the clients that you do your best work with and that you love is the hard part. Because I would much rather have 10 amazing clients that I absolutely love working with, that don't give me any stress, that allow me to kind of have the freedom to build everything else around it, than 100 clients that are paying me, so I'm earning more money, but the stress and the unfulfillment and the obligation that comes with that it's suffocating. And a lot of people come to me with this, I've got clients, but I'm not happy, I'm not fulfilled, I feel obligated to the work that I'm doing, everything is a drain, it's a trudge, I'm not really enjoying it anymore. And that's like an indication of you're not doing your best work with the right people. Yeah. So the marketing is working in terms of it's bringing lots of leads in, but it's not bringing the right people to the door. And that fulfillment, that freedom of being able to choose who you work with and do your best work, there's like, you can't put a price on that. It's like unbelievable when you find that sweet spot of best work, best client, and you get paid for it. The Japanese call it ikigai, which is a bit fancy, but it is like it's an amazing philosophy to be able to say, yeah, I do like work that I love and I get paid for it. It's the dream, right? But it is achievable for everybody that runs their own business. If you can understand what your best work is and the kind of people that need that best work, the marketing is easy.
Yeah. What was that Japanese term again?
Ikigai. So Ikigai. Yeah, it's an old Japanese philosophy, and it's that sweet spot in the middle of the Venn diagram where it's what you're good at, what you love, what doesn't feel like work, what you get paid for, but also what gives value to the world.
Yeah, cool. I thought that was Ikigai. I thought that was Japanese for midget.
No, that's me.
Tanya, would it be fair to say then that let's say, for example, as a personal trainer, if I'm extrinsically motivated by money, then I can get into a position where I've got shitloads of money coming in. Not easily, because it's not easy, but it's not impossible, regardless of my skill set. There's enough numpties out there, high profile, low profile, that are making a lot of money. But if I'm not intrinsically motivated by what I'm actually doing to earn that money, there's a big disconnect in there that could end up leaving me still dissatisfied. And if my goal is to get to £5 a month, 10 grand a month, 20 grand a month, 50 grand a month, well, when I get to it, there'll always be somebody else that's earning 60 grand a month that will make me feel like I'm less successful, so I need to up it. Whereas if I'm looking on the other scale and I'm trying to get that balance right of what matters to me in terms of how I'm helping people, and if I can get good enough at that, then the money will come as a result.
Yeah, exactly that. If you can, I mean, the option of doing stuff that you really enjoy and getting paid well for it, or doing something that you absolutely detest but being paid well for it, like being paid by, like being rewarded financially for it. Money doesn't equate success necessarily. It depends on your definition of success. Money definitely doesn't bring you happiness, as is playing out across the world at the moment. The people that are struggling are like, money isn't a factor in their struggle at all. So it's kind of like, what is your version of success? It's different for everyone. So for me, success is being able to do the work that I love, be paid enough to enjoy my lifestyle, and raise a family without neglecting them. So having enough time to dedicate to all of those things. Whereas for other people, success for them might look like a financial kind of extrinsic factor, but that's okay if they're still kind of intrinsically motivated by the work that they're doing. So it's absolutely fine to have a shit ton of money and doing a job that you absolutely love. But what I try to avoid is people having a shit ton of money doing work that they hate. That's not success. That is a trudge. That is unfulfillment. That is obligation. That is not being able to enjoy the journey and the process that you're on. So it's helping people understand that difference between what is it that you actually want out of this. If you want a lot of money, what is that money going to give you? Like, why do you want that money?
Yeah, I suppose it's a tick in the financial box, but not necessarily, that doesn't automatically. Some people will earn shitloads of money and it will bring them all the happiness in the world. But there's no blanket rule that says, here's £10 million and automatically all of these other boxes are going to be ticked, because it might not play out like that, as we do see on a regular basis. I've got 5 terms that I've written down from having a quick scroll through your Facebook page. And one of them, the first one that I've written down, is about being relatable. So I scrolled through a few of your posts, and quite quickly, having spoken to you on the phone for 40 minutes or so a week or two ago, and then scrolling through half a dozen posts, I could see quite clearly that you were relatable to me in terms of the way that you portray yourself aligned quite closely with me, that made me want to read the next post and the next one, as opposed to thinking, I've got nothing in common with this lady, I'm going to skip to the next person. So I'm assuming, knowing sort of what I do know about what you do, I'm assuming that's a deliberate tactic in one sense, but it's also just the way you are in another sense. How important is it to tie that into what we've just talked about personal trainers maybe doing the same, to find clients who relate to them rather than the opposite? And if I just put a little bit of context into that, let's say I was ripped to fucking shreds, and all I do is take a picture of my tits, my ass, my tits, my ass, my abs, and I plaster that everywhere. That might not be relatable to my client who desperately needs help, who's a few stone overweight.
Yeah. So relatability is, again, it's understanding and it's communication. Who you're already working with people, are you having conversations with them? So there's a lot of personal trainers that will have someone in for a session. They won't spend time before the session getting to know them. They'll just focus on the work that they're doing, and then they don't see them again until the next session. Not having that communication means that you don't get to know why you have a relationship. Is it just an exchange of money? In which case you can't optimize that. You can't build upon that. But if you have conversations with your clients, conversations with people around you, you start to understand why people like you, why they think that you're good at what you do. And it's that deeper understanding of, okay, this is why this person needs to lose weight, because it's different for everyone. Everybody has a different intrinsic, extrinsic driver or motivator. For some women, it's the fact that they feel that they're not attractive anymore. And that, regardless of gender specifics, regardless of body positivity, people's confidence is affected by the way that they look, but also by the way that they think people feel about the way that they look. So understanding and uncovering all of that helps you understand what it is that you provide for that person, because it's not the 60 minutes of HIIT training or the 30 minutes of strength work that you're doing, because they could get that from any other personal trainer or any other coach in that area. So what is it about you? What is it about the way that you coach? It could just be something simple as they saw you walking your dog. They're a dog person. They chat to you in the coffee shop. They know your coffee order. So therefore, there's that instant relatability. But if you're a two-dimensional character almost on your social media or within your job, people don't have a reason to relate to you. They see that you're a human and that you're wearing like a pair of shorts, but other than that, they don't know anything about you. So there's no reason for them to connect with you or relate to you. But if you start to tell your story, and I don't mean spill your guts, because there is a definite difference between sharing your story and oversharing and being intrusive, but sharing snippets about who you are, what motivates you, what excites you, what inspires you, what pisses you off, why you do the things that you do, why this is important for you as a trainer, what it is about your clients that you love. All of these messages, all of these stories tell a bigger picture and will create that relatability, so that the next time this person comes into the gym or they see you in the park training someone and they've seen your social media posts, they're more inclined to start a conversation. Or even in their head, they go, oh, so that's the guy who's got the dog and does this, that, and the other. And it creates the relationship in their head. And you know that, like, you need 11 or so touch points with somebody before they'll be ready to buy into you at any one point. So the more that you can give them reasons to connect with you, even if it's just in their own head while they're scrolling through, the better, I think. But not being able to understand the value exchange, not the financial, but the value exchange, what it is that you do that helps that person on a deeper level. Understanding that allows you to optimize your message and tell that story with amplification. So the stuff that you were scrolling through on my social media is stuff I've worked on with my coach. So I've got a business and marketing coach who helps me, and Chet Morjaria, I think you know him. So he's my coach. So we're going through marketing flows. We build marketing flows based upon my clients' deep needs. Because I understand their deep needs, I can then create a flow of marketing that talks specifically to that need with an alignment, because I know my values, I know my value, and I know what people truly need, not necessarily what they think they want. So having all of that deeper level of understanding allows me to create stronger messaging and relatability just through words, which then pulls people into my world. And when they're ready to make a commitment to working with me, or they feel that I can help them with something, the work's already done.
Yeah, I relating this specifically to a PT, from what I see, looking at dozens, hundreds, if not thousands of PTs profiles and threads throughout the months, it's almost as if a lot of PTs are trying to show people how good they are, whether it's like, look at me, look how strong I am, look at my client, look how brilliant she's doing, look at this transformation, look how effective I've been, looking at all of these brilliant things, whereas the potential clients that are sitting on the outside looking in are probably scared shitless of how much weight is on that bar or how intense that workout looks, and they think that there's no way they will be able to get from where they are to where these people are. Therefore, they, in my opinion, they might be less likely to start that conversation. I think they may be more put off than turned on.
Yeah.
And on the other hand, you've got people that also might portray fake things. Look at this airbrushed picture of me with my top off, for as an example. There will be people that do it. And that might be doing that PT. They might think that that's showing how brilliant they are. And if you want a body like me, train with me. But on the other hand, it's doing nothing to actually tap into the person behind that body, which might actually generate God knows how many more times leads and conversations started, which could lead to more sales if they sort of change their approach of how they portray themselves. Because they might be a dog walker who loves football and they've got lots of stuff in common with thousands of people. But when those thousands of people look at this unachievable, unattainable photograph, they might not start the conversation. Whereas the PT might be the right person for them. They've just chosen, like you said, this two-dimensional caricature of themselves to be the face of their brand, whereas actually that might not be doing them any favors whatsoever.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's like, people relate to struggles more than they relate to successes and results. So if you can weave in, so there is definitely a place for transformational photos. There's definitely a place for finely honed bodies and the aesthetic, because that's representative of bloody hard work. You don't just wake up looking like that one day. It's created, it's modeled, it's crafted, it's hard work, it's discipline. But without that first section, all you're seeing is this end result that appears arrogant, show-offy, and kind of a little bit icky. And like, the fitness industry has a lot of ick still around it from an outsider's perspective as much as an insider's perspective. So there's a personal trainer, a coach near me. He is like the biggest beefy guy, and women would be massively men are intimidated by him when he's training in the gym and he's got his headphones on and he's in the zone. But if they actually spoke to him, they would understand that he's listening to the Little Mermaid soundtrack in this headset and that he's massively into Disney films and that he's got 2 small children and that he is a coach, but he earns money so that he can treat his girls every year. And it's like, those stories don't relate to that image. So if these people, if trainers aren't showing that side of themselves, they're doing themselves a disservice, and they're kind of perpetuating the myth that big, bulky, bodybuilding, fitness professional people are just egotistical, image-focused airheads. Because they're not helping,
and a lot of them
not
are
telling the story. A lot of them are. I can categorically say I have not met, in the years that I've been working with people in the fitness industry, some of the coaches that I work with and some of the coaches that I've spoken with are the most intelligent people I've ever met. The level of education, science, and understanding, it's insane. And you've got people that think, oh, he's just stood there like injecting himself with steroids, beefing up in the mirror. Take Callum Raystrick, Muscle Mentors, for example. The level of intellect that spills out of that man's mouth. But when you look at him from an aesthetic point of view, you would never, like your average person in the street would not say, there goes a scientist. They just wouldn't. And this is the whole point of being able to convey who you are as a person and this relatability. And as an industry as a whole, I think it needs this human-led style marketing rather than evidence-based practice marketing, for want of a better phrase. Like, your clients don't give a fuck about all of that stuff so much. They want to know who you are and why they should work with you. They want to know that when they walk in and they've had a really shitty day, that you're going to be able to connect with them and still get the very best out of them, because you might make them laugh over something, or you might have a conversation about the same documentary that you watch because you're both interested in UFOs, or it's the silly, stupid, fluffy stuff that creates connections.
Or heaven forbid, you might have shared with the world your experience of when you've had a shitty day, which shows that you're normal. You're like them. You're not this kind of superhuman Iron Man type figure that's like emotionless machine. You're a real person, and you've had a fucking shitty day. And this is what happened. Oh, check out Peter Crouch up there. They're doing his robot dance. And it's an important thing. And this kind of we've accidentally spilled over into one of the other points that I had written down, which was about perfection, and about, I think I sort of read something that you had written about everybody seemingly a lot of people being obsessed with portraying like a perfect snapshot into their life, whereas what we actually need is more imperfections. Like, and does this then flow into our social media output? Would we be well advised to show as many imperfections as we do perfections, to do exactly what we've been talking about for 10 minutes, to show people that we are human, we're like them, they can relate to it, because they were late for work as well, they forgot to put the bins out, or whatever it is.
Yeah, definitely. And I think not so much like highlighting imperfections as much as stop trying to cover them up. So trying to portray that something is perfect when it really isn't. I think normalizing normal is the underlying message for me, really, because perfection versus excellence is something that I'm doing a lot of research and reading around at the moment. Is this, everybody wants perfect, everybody, and it's good to strive to be better, but perfection doesn't exist. It's another way to procrastinate and to hide, because you're constantly working towards something. Seth Godin, who is like my marketing guru god, he's like, work that doesn't ship doesn't count. So this constantly, oh, this isn't ready yet because it's not perfect, or I can't put this out because it's not quite perfect. All of this stuff that it's procrastination, and it's just another way to hide yourself. And by hiding the parts of us that make us who we are, all we're doing is creating more unhappiness and more need for perfection, and it's making other people feel that that's not good enough for them either. But when you hide imperfections and when you hide flaws, it means that you think there's something wrong with them, but then you're saying that flaws and imperfections are something everybody else should hide as well. It's not acceptable for anyone else. And that's where we get problems with mental health, with body image, with self-image, with imposter syndrome, because you're only telling like the tip of the iceberg story. You're not telling the struggles, you're not telling the whole picture. And it's fake, it's false, and it's damaging, especially if you've got kids. I've got 4 kids. I've got 2 of my own and 2 stepchildren, varying ages. And it's really important for me that they see my struggles. They see that I fuck up regularly. They see that it doesn't matter if you've got cellulite, if you've got sticky out ears, if you've got freckles, if you're not that great at sport, or if you struggle with maths. These are all things that can be overcome. They're normal. Don't hide them. And it's the same with your social media. I put up a post the other day. I think it was something like stop faffing about on Canva. People hide behind perfect graphics because they're frightened to show themselves quite often. And it's another way of, my face isn't good enough for this. I don't like how I sound. I don't like how I look. So I'm going to create a load of graphics instead that tell the story. But I guarantee 9 times out of 10, people will want to see a face more than they'll want to see a graphic.
Yeah. And we've then led perfectly and smoothly into the third point that I'd written down, which was imposter syndrome, and about our limiting beliefs in ourselves, and it's something I suffer from it regularly, but I've learned to channel it to make myself better in an area rather than allowing it to eat me up inside and put me off doing things. I think I've found a good balance of managing it, but there's been times in the past where I've been crippled by it and definitely been held back by it. And I think a lot of people will be, particularly if they're quite new into the industry and they see all of these people talking about all of this success, real or fake, that talking about all of these things that as a new PT might be impossible or unattainable, and it's therefore easy to think you're barking up the wrong tree. But so on that note of imposter syndrome that we have mentioned a few times already, how do they begin to admit that is what they're suffering from? How do they recognize the signs, and how do they start to combat it from happening?
Yeah, so imposter syndrome is something that everybody will experience, and you should as well, because it means that you're moving into an area that is new. So if you never move into an area that's new, then you're never going to you're not really living, you're not doing anything. So that fear of, oh, this might go wrong, I might not get this right, can cripple some people. And it's the comparison to somebody else that often triggers it. It's the mindless scrolling through Instagram or Facebook, or having conversations in forums, and you're like, oh, they're doing way better than me. Why am I not doing that? I should be doing that. And then they chase things that aren't for them because they see it working for someone else. And it is this comparison element, and you're either in a comparison game, so you should only ever compare yourself to yourself, because otherwise it's not like for like, because you don't know that other story. And if you're comparing yourself to an unknown entity, you're only ever going to fail. That's only ever going to be a negative aspect. So imposter syndrome starts to become a problem when it stops you from moving forward. So you know the direction that you want to go. Imposter syndrome starts with an idea. And it's that idea of, I could try this. And then it's, no, you can't. You're not good enough. And imposter syndrome is that feeling of, I can't do this. I'm not good enough. I'm not ready for this. I don't know enough. I'm not as ripped as he is. I don't have as many clients as he does. I don't have a nice car. I don't have enough experience. I'm not qualified to do this. I've never spoken about that before, so I can't speak about that now. All of these problems come from comparison to somebody else, rather than, I can do this. If it goes wrong, I'm going to learn from it and I'm going to try again. So imposter syndrome, to deal with it, something that I always try and drum into my clients is unfollow anything that isn't teaching you to be better. So if something is making you feel less than, stop following it. I don't follow any other marketers. other than Seth Godin, like the real big hitters, people that I can learn from and aspire to be. But I don't follow anybody in my own industry really, because I would get stuck in comparison mode all the time and think that, oh, my program's not as good as theirs. I wonder what they're charging. I wonder if I'm doing better than them or they're doing better than me. So I removed that completely because I know what I'm like. So other personal trainers shouldn't follow lots of other personal trainers. This is part of your industry that always baffles me because it's constantly holding you back. Constantly holding you back, and all you do is talk to each other rather than talk to the people that you want to help. So I would absolutely cull your feed. Like, you curate your feed. What you see is what you've chosen to see. So if something's pissing you off or something is annoying you or making you feel less than, that's your responsibility to deal with it. That's a sign, an emotional signpost for you to take action and either move forward and do it regardless or get rid of that. Sometimes it can move you forward. Like you said, imposter syndrome is normally a sign for me to go, shit, I'm up leveling something here. This is a good sign. It means that I'm out of my comfort zone. Being out of your comfort zone is the only way you're going to grow. But it's, like I said, it's when that becomes fearful enough to stop you from moving forward. That's when you have to take action and do something, either get rid of what's causing the less than or improve what you want to do. Have a plan. Procrastination, again, imposter syndrome and procrastination are kind of like hand in hand, because it's that fear of what is the first step? How do I move forward? What is that first step? And it's bringing everything back to like micro, tiny, weeny steps. So if you're writing, for example, if a personal trainer wanted to suddenly go online from being a personal trainer, I want to go online, but I don't think I'm good enough. I've never done this before. The first thing you should do is research, what does an online coach do? That's the first step. And then from there, when you've got your research, what do they do? What do I have? What do I need? What don't I need? And it's just those tiny micro steps, breaking everything down into one step. And that moves you forwards. And every time you take that one step and the world hasn't crashed in around you, builds your confidence to take it that little bit further. But one thing that's always stuck in the back of my mind is, what is the absolute worst that could happen? It's such a cliched phrase and expression, but it is literally, what is the worst thing that could happen here? It goes tits up, right? Is it going to cost me a lot of money? Maybe. If it does, what's the backup plan? I have to move back in with my parents and get a job at Tesco. Right, okay. Are you going to die? No. We're all good here. And it's just a thing, making it so, so micro focused and so, I guess, reasonable that you've got no choice but to move forward.
And chances are the actual worst case scenario of what could happen would be way less difficult to handle than the example you just gave. So, for example, if I'm saying, right, I want to be an online coach, rather than wait for 6 months until I think I'm a perfect online coach, I'm just going to put a post on Facebook now that says, I'm going to do some online coaching. Anyone interested? The absolute worst thing that can happen is nobody will reply saying, yes, I'm interested. Yeah. So in that context, it's cost me nothing, about 8 seconds of time to type the message. And there's no, I haven't invested $5,000 into a marketing strategy. That can come further down the line, but just starting and doing it. And even if it takes you a month or two to get going, it doesn't matter. I think, Josh, was it Ben Coomber who we spoke to, who said back when he started, I think it took him something like 6 months to get his first online nutritional client from when he first set his stall out as a coach. It took him 6 months to get a client. And it would have been so easy to have sacked it off before that and thought, I'm not good enough. But it takes you have to sort of put yourself out there and then just modify as you go along until you find something that works, or until you find that audience that is right for you, if that makes sense.
Definitely. Determination and consistency. It's like anything that you need to progress in life. It's consistently, continually putting in that disciplined effort. Like, what's that? Oh, consistency.
The next word on my, I tell you what, after this, Oprah Winfrey is getting sacked off, and I think they're going to get me in as the interview king, because this is just a seamless conversation now, going through everything that I wanted to, and touching on, as you were doing so, consistency. How important is that? And also, on the other hand, how long do you try to be consistent for before you accept that you might be flogging a dead horse?
That's a great question, actually, because consistency is king. It's key. I'll relate it into an analogy that personal trainers and fit pros will understand. If you want to run a marathon, you have to plan almost a year of training plans, recovery plans. You can't just suddenly get up and run a marathon. And I mean, there are obvious outliers before anybody comes at me with that. But for the bulk of people, you would not be able to get up and run a marathon. It just wouldn't happen. You would have to consistently train and prepare. And it's the same with weight loss or muscle gain. Consistent, disciplined effort with the right focus and plan. And you will know when to give up, because if you've put enough effort in, enough consistent effort and enough discipline, it should work if it's right for you. There are plenty of people that have qualified as PTs, coaches, who should not have. And they're the ones that leave the industry. It's not an industry for everyone. It's not something that should come easy. It should be difficult. It should be a slog. Everything in life that's worth having takes work, takes effort, takes consistent effort. With marketing, with online social media, organic stuff takes a long time to build up. And even with the hyper focus of knowing who your market is, knowing the message that they need to hear, building the network around you is also a massive problem for people. They'll use Facebook ads as a way to bring in new leads. They'll use influencer marketing, or they'll try and use influencer marketing without realizing that in their own postcode, they could have a massive pool of clients that they've not tapped into because they've never taken the time to speak to anybody. Like, outreach on social media and in actual real life networking is a massive part of building your business. That will get you clients quicker than any Facebook ad strategy or organic campaign that you do. Actually taking time out of your day to have a conversation, like we were speaking at the very, very beginning, the art of conversation is dying. People have no idea how to start a conversation. My kids hate coming shopping with me because I will walk around Sainsbury's and talk to 5, 6, 7 people that I don't necessarily know, but we'll have a conversation, buy a tin of beans because I've said, oh, excuse me. And it's just, I'm interested in people. I like to have conversations. It's part of what I do as my job. I like to get involved in discussion threads because it helps me become better at what I do, which is teaching people how to communicate and network and create best work and find their best clients. And you can't do that without speaking to people. And people are so frightened of starting a conversation or leaving a comment on someone's post or dropping a reply to their story. And it's like, right, you put content out all the time. You expect people to leave comments on your shit. You expect them to direct message you to ask you stuff, but you're not doing that outwardly yourself. The more that you are seen to have conversations, the more you put yourself out there. I've got no shame when it comes to like talking to people online. I love it. I actually want people to say, fucking hell, you're so bold. Who are you? Because then I'm like, right, this is my in. But the more you do it, the less that fear of, I think, people telling you to fuck off, stop being a creep. I think that's what people are frightened of. It's like, who are you? Get out of my DMs. Fuck off, you creep. But if you're genuinely just trying to connect with people that you think you might have a solution for, or that look like a nice person, there's no problem with it. Social media is about building friendships. It's about building relationships and expanding your network. It's not about selling your shit. It's just making more friends. That's literally it. If you can find a way to start conversations that's authentic, it will just massively enhance your lead generation and your client acquisition skills. It's like when you're in a gym, you don't just stand in the corner of the gym and expect people to come up and ask you for a personal training session. You go and you talk to them while they're training. You offer them advice, give them a towel if they need one. Have you got enough change for the locker? Oh, you've dropped your stuff on the floor here. I like shoes. These kinds of conversations, you can have them online as well. I mean, not like obviously you've dropped your shoes kind of shit, but you can connect with people about the stuff that they're posting about. If you're a dog person, you can like someone's post and say, oh, what breed is that? And that's a conversation. It's that simple. It's the mundane, general day-to-day chit-chat conversation that will lead to massive gains in terms of network building. Huge.
You're just starting that 11 points of contact, or it might be 7, it might be 20, it might be 2, but it definitely isn't 0. Like no. So just by getting to number 1, then can you get another point? Can you get another one? I'm sure I've seen a few forums. It might have even been in UK PTs in the past where personal trainers. I've seen it multiple times where they are complaining that I went to a wedding on Saturday, sat down and we're having chit chat. As soon as I said I'm a personal trainer, everyone on the fucking table wanted to ask me questions about should I be eating this? Oh, fucking hell, ruined my day. And I'm like,
that's your job.
There's 10 people around the table asking you for your advice. Like, you don't have to get your checkbook out at the end, or like you don't have to charge them, but just talk to them, give them snippets of advice. That's what you love the job. Apparently you're not motivated by money, you're motivated by helping people. I just want to help people. Well, fucking help them. And if you help them well enough, they'll go and tell someone on that table, and they'll tell someone on that table, and by the end of it you might have a lead. Like, you never know where it could end up. Somebody might own a company that needs someone to come in and speak to their staff for a couple of hours. The amount of gigs that I've got in my life that have turned into like ridiculous earners. I just mean in terms of, for example, about 10 years ago, I walked into my local ice hockey team. I was PTing in Peterborough, and I was like, right, I wasn't working in professional sport anymore because it was too difficult for me to get back in once I was out. And I went to all of the sort of amateur semi-pro clubs in the city, and one of them was the ice hockey team. And I walked in and I just said, listen, I'll help you players, give me some tickets for some matches, gives me something to do, and I'm helping the players. But these players have got an audience of hundreds of people who come and visit. So I'm thinking, if my name gets mentioned, I'm on social media helping star players, blah, blah, blah. And I'm still now to this day doing paid work for the ice hockey team. At the minute, £200 a month, doing a couple of Zoom sessions with their kids. All right, 200 quid a month is not a lot. But over the years, I might have earned 30, 40, 50 grand just from walking in, offering my time for free, that, oh, you shouldn't do anything for free. But I've earned 50 grand out of it over a lifetime. I just was prepared to invest the help and let sow the seeds that has then allowed it to develop into a long-term relationship. And that starts from a conversation, putting yourself out there, not being afraid of your own limiting beliefs, and just perfecting it as you go along. It ties in with everything we've talked about.
Yeah, absolutely. Even so far as like having branded merchandise, like I know you guys are helping out with this, but when you see somebody with so and so PT, personal trainer, on the back of their jumper, and they're in Tesco's or they're in a coffee shop or they're walking out and about, you immediately will go, right, they're a personal trainer, and it creates that first touch point of, he shops in Tesco's, I shop in Tesco's. First touch point. But it's then, if you see them again, it's like, hi, kind of. And but by advertising what you do, who you are, and what your speciality is, things like some of my clients, we're working, so I'm doing like a coaching program with my friend Nick at the moment, and we're helping people with offline marketing as well as online, because the principles are pretty much exactly the same. And if you can create influence in your own postcode, so like owning your own postcode by contacting your local newspaper, contacting your local radio station, magazines, freebies, business forums. I provide this. I can do a talk, a half hour, 40-minute talk on nutrition or on movement for people with a desk job, or parents who want to know how to create healthy food for their kids. All these kinds of things, parent networks. If you're a parent, you've got access, loads of people, like offer to help out at school fairs, like have your flyer put in the kids' book bags, offer your services for free whenever you can, because you know this, when you could give away your entire toolbox for free, only 2% of people would ever implement the whole thing. So the more that you're seen to be helping the people that are in your network or that are potential clients for you, the more that your name gets said, the more that your brand grows. It's really important that you're known for what you do by as many people as possible. And offline networking, offline marketing is quicker than online marketing, because you can actually physically create that rapport straight away. Super important. And it's how I built my business first, was with local businesses, through networking, through helping one business owner who then spoke to another business owner. And because it's my town, I made a point of shopping in all of these shops and creating that relationship before we entered like the business agreement. And it's as simple as just have conversations with as many people as you can about what you do.
On the final bit on that consistency theme is there's sort of like a disconnect that I see as I'm a personal trainer. If I've got a client and the client's just got 3 months worth of training and they haven't lost any weight, my conversation with them will be, or let's say they've been training for a week and they haven't lost 4 stone and they're now depressed about it because they thought they would. My lecture to them will be about consistency. We're building the foundations. We need to look at the bigger picture. We need to plant the seeds now so that we can reap the rewards in 6, 12, 18 months time. All those things. Have you tracked your calories? No. Have you got your steps in? No. Have you done your homework, whether it's prehab, rehab, stretching, whatever? Like, no, I haven't done it. Well, that's what you need to be consistent with all of these things, and it will come to fruition in the end. However, me as a business coach looks at, oh, what's he done? I'm going to do that. Oh no, that didn't work. I've done one post about that and it didn't work. So what's she doing? Okay, I'll do that. I've done one post about that. It didn't work. I'm preaching to my clients. You need consistency. You need to pay me as your coach to hold you accountable. But then me as the same PT is perfectly willing to just chop and change from 1 minute. My angle is this, the next minute it's that. I'm looking, the grass is always greener on the other side, and I'm not showing those same signs of consistency with my business as I want people to have with my business. And I'm also not prepared to invest in myself in terms of having someone coaching me and mentoring me, which you've just said, you as the mentor, you have that. Josh as the mentor, he has that. Those people, so those same PTs aren't prepared to do those same things. And when you stand back and look at it, you think, fucking hell, that's ridiculous. No wonder 80 to 90% of all personal trainers fail. Yes, there's some brilliant ones and there's some that earn a fortune, but the vast majority struggle and fail. And maybe if they took a step backwards and tried to fix those things, they might actually get somewhere.
Yeah, it's definitely expectations. It's understanding and setting expectations for what is achievable. Realistically, what is achievable, not this 10 six-figure guru stuff that seems to be the benchmark for success, or for even like achievable. Like that's not what this is about. This is about building a business that is sustainable, that isn't going to kill you in terms of stress, obligation, unfulfillment, and working 90 hours a week to make it. It's about a solid, sustainable business that you enjoy, that supports your lifestyle and allows you to potentially raise a family, go on holiday a couple of times a year. Why is that not the dream? Why is the dream this stupid, ridiculous amounts of money that just make you miserable? I mean, I look at people with these 2-3 million pound houses, and all I see is, how the fuck do they keep that clean? Like, what the pressure of constantly earning the money and being at that level to maintain that is crazy. So why can we not just set an expectation of, this is going to take some work, this is potentially how long it's going to take you, this is the reality of what you're going to get. You should be in this job because you love the work and you want to earn a decent wage or financial remuneration for doing it. It's just this expectation of, I'm going to be earning 10 grand a month within the next 6 months. That's like, that is not the majority of the fitness industry. It just isn't. But setting expectations and making sure that you're consistent is it's what you do as a coach, isn't it? It's what I do. It's like, right, okay, you want to have this amount of impact, you want to be able to have this kind of level of finance in your business. What don't you want to compromise? Because it depends on what you can sustain as to how consistent we can be with this. So the reality of it is, you want this amount of clients by this date. This is the input that you're going to have on a daily basis to achieve that goal. Are you going to sustain that because of your commitments in terms of life, family, your own training, and the actual enjoyment of your job? If you're killing it for like 12 hours a day, you're going to hate this by the end of the month. So what is sustainable? What can you commit to? What's enjoyable? And once that expectation is set, the consistency is almost like what I help my clients with. It's that accountability, creative soundboard for them. But also a lot of what I do, and this is why I've gone down the NLP route, a lot of what I do is mindset, limiting belief change. It's goal setting, like proper strategy goal setting, not I want to be earning 10 grand a month by 2022. It's like, right, I want to have this many clients. I want to be doing this amount of work every day in this field with this kind of person. And we set that goal and we set the strategy to reach that goal. And that's kind of the bulk of my work. The social media element of it, I feel, is just a bonus. You know all that. You can Google all of that shit. But it's the keeping them accountable, keeping them on track with their actual goals, values, and purpose aligned the whole time.
Yeah. Does that accountability words just popped up a few times, and it's something that pops up all the time? And I think as a PT now, gone are the days of turn up Tuesday and Thursday, 6 o'clock, we'll have an hour session, and then that's it. Like, you come up, you do your session, pay for my time, and that's it. There's a lot more to the job now that allows us to be a lot more effective as the industry is evolving. We're learning and we're improving. But my question, I'll put this question out to both of you and then hand over to Josh with the rest of his questions, is about, in terms of your own accountability, you, Tanya and Josh, both of you know how to run a business. You both get paid to help people run their own businesses. However, both of you invest in other people to tell you how to run your business, or to advise you, or to coach you within your own businesses. And how important is that? And if we look at the context of like fitness, we can go on YouTube and we can get a workout. That's not a problem. Like the amount of free content that's out there, a client should never, ever need to pay a personal trainer to tell them what exercises to do, because you can just find that information for free far too easily. However, that's not the problem. The problem with getting them from A to B is holding their hand, the accountability, making sure they've done the things that they know they need to do, but they don't. They might need someone holding them accountable for it. So that's my question is, how important do you both see it, and why do you then choose to invest in other people to tell you to do the jobs that you're telling other people to do? Does that make sense?
Yep.
It does. It does make sense. So for me, I give so much of my energy, time, thought process, creative energy to my clients that by the end of it, it's depleted. And so my coach helps pull that back out of me, helps me focus on my goals so that I'm not completely immersed in my client work the whole time. He allows me to have that selfish element of, this is my time, this is my business. I need to, quite often, when you're in the business of helping people, you just help people and you forget about yourself. So having a coach reminds me that, you know, my business is actually really important, and my health and my focus and my clarity is really important. So let's set these boundaries and keep you accountable to them so that your stuff also grows at the same time. And then that gives me back the little bit of freedom as well to keep giving a little bit extra to my clients, because I know that I'm being taken care of as well. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. And as you don't have to give me specific figures, but as a sort of hypothetically, what sort of return on investment financially do you estimate that you get in terms of, I pay 4 apples a month for my coaching, but I get how many apples back?
So when I first signed up with Chet a year ago, actually, I have doubled my income. So, but more than
even if he charged you 10 grand a month, it doesn't matter, because it's worth it. If he's charging you 100 quid a month, it's worth it. Like if someone's offering you a £20 note for a tenner, you're going to take it every day of the week, aren't you? Regardless of the cost of investment.
Absolutely, because it's given me like super clarity, super focus on what I actually do, how I do it, and how to amplify that best work, which then allows me to pass it on to my clients and makes me better at my job.
Yeah. And the ROI intrinsically is, I would assume, probably immeasurable. But can you put it into any sort of scale?
So before, it's almost like BC AD. So before Chet, before Chet, I was kind of floundering a little in terms of, I knew that I was good at what I did. I kind of knew the type of clients that I wanted to work with. I instinctively knew a lot of stuff, but working with Chet has allowed me to create a methodology and to have almost like formulas and systems and processes for the work that I do, so that it allows me to do more of that. It's given me an understanding of my values Like, I knew what my values were, but having that value meaning and being able to run that through every element of my business just makes everything that I do more impactful. Disproportionate impact is a phrase that I heard from Chet like 2 or 3 years ago. So we've been friends for a long time before I invested in him as a business coach. So we've been friends for like 5 years, but I only invested in him in the last year because I felt that that was the level that I was at now. Before that, I was like, oh, like that wasn't for me. I didn't need that. Yeah. But now I'm kind of, that's where I am.
Yeah. And clients, potential clients, will do exactly the same with PTs. I've had a lady who said to me, she's been watching what I was doing for 5 or 6 years, and it took her that long to be brave enough to send me a message to say, can you please help me? So sometimes, even when you think there's like tumbleweed from your Facebook post, somebody is watching. They're just not jumping down your throat to be part of it immediately.
People are always watching. There's always lurkers. People are always looking at your stuff. The amount of comments that I've had in the past, people that followed me for years, like old school friends, and then all of a sudden I'll post something and they'll message me and they'll say, I've been reading your stuff for years and like it's amazing how far you've come. And I'm like, you fucker, like you've never liked a single one of my posts. Like my posts. That's what you're for. But that's the whole point of this game, is for people to like my stuff so I know that you're there.
Yeah.
But no,
so it doesn't ruin my day refreshing. Go, oh, fucking hell, 3 likes, is that it?
Yeah. I'm past that stage of refreshing for the likes now. I set it and just go, and just I know I have that faith that that message was good. I know it's going to work, so I just try not to stress about it so much now.
Yeah. Josh, same question to you, mate.
So I only invested in a mentor again quite recently, so within the last like probably 3 or 4 months. And the thing for me was, there's about 5 different reasons I did it, some of which you've already mentioned, Tanya. So number 1, I think, was imposter syndrome. So it was but I was lucky enough to kind of recognize what was happening, and I realized that if I wanted to level up on a business level, then I needed someone to help me go through that process that had already been where I wanted to be. So it was that kind of guidance, and linked to that, it was the external viewpoint they had. So they had a lot more clarity. They had a very they weren't as attached to the process or the business, or they were removed from the situation. So that massively helps. When in fact I messaged my coach yesterday, I said, look, I'm thinking about doing this, but I don't know if I'm just getting distracted. Like, should I do it? And he was, he said, yes, do this, do that, blah, blah, blah. And then the other thing is, like you said as well, Tanya, is that selfish time. It allows you to focus on what you want to grow, where you're not helping everyone else all the time. But for me as well, it removes some of the decision fatigue, because, I'm like, oh, well, Daniel Priestley says I could do this for the thing, or Jocko Willink says I could get up earlier, or I could do this and this and this. So it just allows me to go, what would you do? What do you recommend I do? And then I just follow his advice. So yeah, and then the final one really, which I think is probably quite important, but it's not as important as the others, is the financial commitment. Make sure that I've got the buy-in, literally, to make sure that I actually put the work in. And instead of me just following a book and going, oh, well, I don't really like that, so I'm not going to do it. It makes me do the stuff that's uncomfortable, and it keeps me massively accountable. And then answering the question about return of investment. So I pay him, I'll be completely transparent, I pay him £1,000 a month. And that's part of like a mastermind thing. I hate using that term because, like you say, it's associated with a lot of like ick, yeah, join my mastermind, it's fine, you can make 6 figures a month, boom. But where my site is a membership site, we've had at least 100 to 200% return on investment per month, but that should grow as the membership increases. So yeah, I'm completely happy with it, and it is good.
Yeah, so you're both doubling your income quite comfortably from your investments, and that has the potential to grow exponentially in the future. But if it doesn't fucking matter, because you're buying £20 notes for a tenner. So there's People say money doesn't grow on trees, but it does in your two's houses. The kind of the summary for this for me is that as a personal trainer, if you don't have a personal trainer, and if you probably don't have a business coach that you invest in, you're probably holding yourself back from your own development, both physically and financially. Because again, a PT having a PT, I don't know how many personal trainers have a personal trainer. I bet you there are some people who have been personal trainers for 10 years who have never experienced what a personal training session is like from the other end. And for me, that is fucking ridiculous. Like, how do you know? You might be good, but how do you know that there's not a different way? There's not other ways that you can learn from and develop. And also, if you've done 30 one-to-one sessions a week, how the fuck can you be asked to then plan your own session or to have the energy to force yourself to do it? So then all that happens is you sort of plateau and then start to decline. And if you're not, something you've touched on, Tanya, and something that Stephen A. sort of echoed from a mindset perspective, is that if you're not putting yourself first and making yourself better, then that's going to have a knock-on effect to how useful you are to all the people that are depending on you and relying on you. So yeah, PTs, get a bloody PT and get some form of reputable business coach, and it will probably solve the problem that you're in the minute, where you might not have as much money or as many clients or as many leads as you would like to have. And okay, I get the last 12 months has ripped the rug from underneath our feet as an industry. However, working online means that we can now be more specific than ever with a very specific target market, and it doesn't matter if they live in Timbuktu or California, because we can communicate with them now. It's made it so much easier for us to actually be more successful financially and then emotionally, but there's a lot of people I think are probably holding themselves back.
Yeah, absolutely. There is no better time to build a business than kind of with this online platform expansion that we're seeing. There's something for everyone. You've got Clubhouse now and Dispo, which is a new one, and everybody is online using some kind of platform. And the younger you are, the easier this shit should be to connect with, like, people like you. I don't use Snapchat or TikTok, like, from a business perspective. I use TikTok as a user because I think it's great. It's probably one of the only social media channels where I can go and immerse myself for an hour and not see a negative comment, because you don't have to see the comments. So people that say, I can't build my business online, just lack direction and lack probably a strategy for it. There is no reason why you can't do any of this. And especially like with the PT stuff with COVID, so many people adapted super quickly because they had no choice. Some people will continue that adaptation and will now be able to offer hybrid versions of their services, which means they've just like 10x'd their income potential. Whereas others will now just go back to the way that they did it before, because that's what they are comfortable with. Yeah. And they kid themselves that that's what their market wants. So being able to adapt quickly is really important with like online stuff. There is an audience for everyone online at the moment.
Do you think there's also probably a fourth category that have just spent the last year moaning that they can't do their face-to-face sessions in the gym? The whole world is against me. It's fucking rubbish. My clients don't want online coaching. No, they just don't want your online coaching because you haven't framed it in a way that is valuable to them for what they're paying. It's your fault. and they'll just be like, oh, woe is me, Boris is a fucking arsehole, and now I'm going to have to go and work as a postman or in Subway or whatever, wherever. I've left the industry and it's everyone else's fault. Whereas actual fact, you didn't adapt. You didn't adapt your business to the circumstances, and you've been shafted.
Yeah, that's a mindset thing. It happens in every industry, that people are victims. It's just this fixed mindset of, I can't do this. There is no way forward for me, so I'm just going to sit in my misery and wait for something to miraculously change me. And this is just the way some people are. And without that light bulb moment of realization, and it can happen, like you can move from a fixed mindset to a growth mindset through events. Some people will have a traumatic experience in their life and it will change their mindset from fixed to growth. Other people, it can be something super, super simple, like coming across a book that they read and it suddenly creates this new neural pathway in their brain, and they suddenly embrace a new way to do things. It is just people's mindsets of, this isn't possible for me, therefore there's nothing else I can do. And you just can't work with people like that. It's very important as well that when you are in the habit or in the industry of progressive change for other people, that you know what that feels like from a personal perspective. Like you were saying, PT should have a PT to understand the client journey of what actually happens. Or is there another way to do this? Because even like for me, I was always dead against creating content for like an entire month in one go, because I felt that would then constrain me to my words, like I wouldn't have freedom. But actually sitting down and creating marketing flows for an entire month in one afternoon then allows me more freedom to be more creative, because I've then got extra content. So it allows me to have more. But I would never have thought of that without having somebody else to guide me and say, well, no, try it this way. Let's give it a go. We'll fit it in with how you want it to look. And then I was kind of like, oh yeah, so I was wrong. But without having that experience of some other way, you just get stuck. And this is something I see with PTs in your industry, in gyms that I've been in, is that they qualified 20 years ago and have never done CPD or anything else. They've just carried on doing the same thing for 20 years. And like, fair play to them, they've kept a client base and they've managed to keep their business going, but they're not actually making a real difference. And to me, that's really quite sad that there's this opportunity for pure growth and real change, and it's just not happened.
Yeah. On that adapting and evolving and transferring sort of business models, to be perfectly transparent, at the start of lockdown, I had a small facility that was hitting 5 to 6 grand a month that was completely gone. I was also the most anti-online coach there was. I was outspoken at how against online coaching I was, because I had a boner for face-to-face, because that's the best way. It's what I've always done. And so I'm not trying to sort of make my point from a perspective of I was already a 10-figure online coach and now look, I'm being all arrogant because like everyone's now having to go online. I was the complete opposite. I lost a 5 to 6 grand a month income, and I was forced to start the one thing that I fucking loathed the most, and I had to learn how to do it well enough to be as close to my face-to-face model as possible. And then I've had to adapt and change my income streams so I'm earning enough money to keep a roof over my head. So I'm as much of a victim of the lockdown as a lot of other PTs will be, but I'm sort of trying to make the point of that adapting and overcoming is not impossible. So There's never a better time to be a PT, specifically an online PT or a coach. And there's also no better time to join Mark Laws's virtual kettlebell club, people. Josh, final few questions before me and Tanya masturbate.
So, I always love watching people's reactions when they don't know that's coming.
No pun intended.
So, Tanya, so you mentioned earlier, you love learning from like Seth Godin, reading his books and stuff. So a bit of tangible kind of stuff here for people that are watching. Do you have any recommended resources or books that you would push people towards? I know that Chet has just released a book, which I've got a copy of on my Kindle. So yeah, is there anything that you would recommend?
Yeah, definitely. And I've always got them here on my desk because I still use them now. So I've got Seth Godin, This Is Marketing. Excellent book. Also, Rory Sutherland, Alchemy.
Okay.
Really good book. Mindset by Dr. Carol Dweck.
Okay.
Personal development. And obviously, my coach, Chet's book, Work Worth Doing. And I'm not just saying this because he's my coach. Like, I've invested money in him because he's bloody good. And this book, it helps you understand your values, like your real true values. And without knowing that, you can't build a business that gives value without knowing what that is. And I think anything else I read religiously is a woman called Bernadette Jiwa. She is kind of like a mentee of Seth Godin. She's an Irish woman. She does marketing and storytelling and branding. Marketing a Love Story is one of her books. But I think if you read anything by Seth, Rory, or anything by Ogilvy, standard storytelling, standard marketing, it's gonna. Oh yeah.
We're all prepped here, Tanya.
How crazy is that?
Yeah.
But that just goes to show that kind of message, that kind of book is universal. It's not just for guys who are running PT businesses, but it's also for middle-aged women who are running coaching businesses as well. They're just good books that teach you about principles, and it's principles that actually move the needle rather than tactics. So I can teach you about how to game the algorithm or have a winning set of hashtags or how to create really good video content, but none of that matters if you have no idea how to fucking create a conversation in the first place.
Yeah, the really interesting one for me there is the Rory Sutherland. Is somebody who I've invested a lot of time into in the last few months. Once I was aware of him, I can't remember how it came about, but he and anyone who's listening to this, if you just type Rory Sutherland into YouTube, there's so many hour, 90-minute, 2-hour-long podcast episodes with him talking. And one of the things that I really like about it is where he talks so much. This relates back to like the imposter syndrome thing about, I've got this idea. And then on the shoulder, the little devil says, no, you can't do that. People won't like that. Whereas Rory Sutherland talks about the great success that comes from ideas that shouldn't work, but they do. And one of the classic examples he always gives is Coca-Cola dominated the kind of the soft drinks market for generations. So if you wanted to compete with Coca-Cola on a canned drink, it would need to be a bigger can that tastes better and is cheaper. However, the only brand that has even come close to competing with Coca-Cola is Red Bull, whose drink is smaller, more expensive, and from the ridiculous amount of research that Red Bull did with people who are trained to research in taste and taste only, it came back saying it was the worst taste they'd ever had.
It tastes like shit.
Yeah, but it's the only brand that has managed to compete with Coca-Cola for 100 years, and it's done something that shouldn't have worked smaller, more expensive, and doesn't taste as good, then it's never going to work. But it fucking has, because it doesn't. It's not. This quote I use all the time from an Ella Fitzgerald song. It's not what you do; it's the way that you do it, and that's what gets results. And that is so important for a PT to translate that into their PT business, even though it's coming from a marketing for conglomerate sort of global soft drinks brands.
Yeah.
Really interesting. I've stalked him down, and I've made Facebook friends with Rory Sutherland, and I am going to be sliding straight into his DMs to line him up to come onto the podcast, because he'd be a brilliant guest.
Yeah.
A really interesting guy to listen to.
Yeah, agreed. Completely agree.
So, my final question, Tanya. If somebody really aligns with you, they have listened to his podcast, they resonate with you, they appreciate your values and everything, where should they go to get in touch with you?
You can find me pretty much Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. I'm in the UK PTs group. I'm quite active in there. But mainly Facebook and Instagram. Just search my name, Tanya Filer, and I'll pop up. There's another Tanya Filer. She is a New York doctor. That one is not me.
I saw. I was like, wait a minute, that's not. Is that? I was confused.
Yeah, no, I don't perform surgery. Not like legally, anyway.
Right. So, Mark, we've got 12 minutes left.
Oh, no problem. Masturbate is only 1 minute each, Tanya, and then we've got your false, true questions. So easy peasy. Tanya, pick a hand. Which hand would you like me to masturbate with?
The left.
So it feels like it's someone else.
Yep.
Tanya, how much do you like Joe Wicks?
Oh, I love Joe.
Do you? Okay, well, you're arguing against Joe then, and I will be arguing for Joe Wicks. Trust me, that's as hard for me as it's going to be for you. Josh, who do we want to go first? Do we want Tanya to go first or second? Probably get second. I'll go first, shall I?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll go first. I've got 1 minute to talk about why Joe Wicks is so incredible, and then you, Tanya, are going to unleash your hatred for Joe Wicks and why he is so terrible. Josh, give us a countdown.
3, 2, 1, go.
Okay, so Joe Wicks, I don't think there is a person ever, especially not since Mr. Motivator, who has had a bigger impact on a bigger audience of people from a health, fitness, well-being perspective. Just look at the man. He is an absolute Adonis. I mean, even when he had his arm in plaster, he still managed to prance around his front room, although he did call in sick a couple of days and get his wife to do the sessions. But he is an absolute Trojan and a trooper. When the nation needed him most, he rocked up with some ridiculously high-intensity bodyweight sessions, getting kids to bounce off the walls that gave them enjoyment under the guise of PE lessons. And it was just incidental that he had a book coming out and products to sell to those children further down the line. That's not to be held against him, because he put our nation's children at the forefront of his mind. And if you don't like floppy hair and a cheeky Cockney accent, then you do not have a place on this planet, let alone in this personal training forum. I love Joe. Tanya, tell me why he's so terrible.
Right, ready?
Go.
Okay, Joe Wicks, an abomination of a man, if you can be deigned to call him that, really, with his floppy hair, squeaky voice, and really annoying fake Cockney accent. He's from South London. Doesn't have a real Cockney accent. I think Joe has probably single-handedly ruined the reputation of the fitness industry because of his disbelief in the calories in, calories out philosophy, preferring to teach his membership that fist size, although fist size to a man is generally important, but that fist size portions are a way to measure whether or not something is too much or too little for you. 1,200 calorie protein smoothies in the morning is probably one of the reasons why the majority of people who invest in his 90-day shift, shape or sustain don't shift, shape or sustain at all. Probably also one of the most vocal people for ice baths currently. Not only is he having ice baths, he's had a brand new ice bath shipped and built into his back garden next to his hot tub and his sauna in the leafy suburbs of wherever it is in South London. He lives, Chiswick or somewhere like that, which also doesn't have any evidence to support it. So not only is Joe Wicks probably a bit of a dick, he's a cold one.
He's a cold,
shriveled dick.
I'm sorry, Joe.
I don't think he'll be listening, Tanya. Don't worry. I don't think he subscribes to us on Spotify. However, if he does subscribe to us on Spotify and listen to this, the whole point of the mass debate section is that there are two very, very different ways of looking at the same thing at two opposing ends of the spectrum. So me and Tanya there very sarcastically demonstrating that there's no necessary right or wrong opinion on things like that. It's just whatever floats your boat. And now we know that what floats Tanya Filer's boat is a fist-sized accompaniment to her masturbation.
Yeah.
It's going to be hard to sustain, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh dear. I had to struggle when the fisting started. I struggled not to chirp in with my sarcastic comments, but oh dear, that was difficult. It was difficult not to chirp up with that one. Tanya, hope all this talk of fisting and masturbation, hopefully that hasn't ruined your false, true statements, which we're now going to ask you to read out. So if you could read us all three statements, and then me and Josh are going to try and guess which is the correct statement.
Okay. So, one of my coaching clients was on celebrity first dates. One of my coaching clients was on celebrity juice. One of my coaching clients was on celebrity Big Brother.
Oh, Josh, what are you going for?
I'm going to go with celebrity first dates. Do you want me to tell you why, or should we just leave?
Yeah, go on.
So you mentioned that you've worked with some celebrities on their branding. I think that was quite recently. And I think that First Dates is the most recent of those programs. I think it would be the most relevant one for them to be on at the moment. So yeah, that's my logic.
That's your logic.
Fuck me, that is a logical answer as well. I'm going to say no to Celebrity Big Brother because do they even still make it? I don't know if they do. Hopefully there's still a few of them locked in there from 5 years ago or whenever it was last made. What was the middle one again, Tanya?
Celebrity juice.
Celebrity juice. Oh, just to be different to Josh, I'm going to shoot down the middle and go celebrity juice. But you'll have to tell us which is the right answer.
Celebrity Big Brother.
Bollocks, we're all wrong.
Yeah, so technically he was meant to be on Celebrity Juice, but he actually fell ill just beforehand. But no, so I worked with George James Gilby of Gogglebox for 5 years. He was he was my first ever coaching client. I coached him while he was on Gogglebox. I coached his family. I even did a little bit of coaching with Scarlett Moffat. But I looked after George when he was in the Big Brother house. I was responsible for all of his social marketing at that point.
Very good. Excellent. Well played. And we both got it wrong.
Yeah, but that was a while ago. Quite a while ago.
Still counts.
Yeah. I think
It
being in my area of Essex, Hertfordshire, London, kind of, there's a lot of celebs that live around my way. I've come across a few.
Cool.
You must
Excellent stuff.
I think you're pretty close to me because I'm in Southend-on-Sea.
Yeah,
And I did a little bit of work with someone in like Colchester way. I'm not going to name them, but it's a little hive of some kind of semi-celebrity and above. But yeah, Mark Laws is the most famous person I've ever dealt with, to be honest. So
I thought you did all the PR for Prince Andrew.
Yeah, I've got a few clients like that, and they're not happy.
Yeah, you should definitely go on Panorama. You should say this. Yeah, cheers, Josh. Tanya, that is it. We're done. Bang on time.
Fabulous.
Thank you very much for your time. Thanks for coming on. If a PT listens to this and doesn't get a shred of value, then that's their problem, not ours, because we've had fun, and I think there's a lot of stuff in there that people can just take on board, implement straight away, and if they do want to come and hassle you, slide into your DMs and make contact with you, they know that you welcome that.
Absolutely.
As well as a good fist.
Has to be the left one, though, please.
The left one, okay, of course, yeah. Of course. Not that she's picky.
I'm prerogative the woman to choose whatever I want.
That is true. That is true. Well, I need to hold my beer in my right hand at the same time, so that would work out perfectly. For those listening on Spotify, not watching on YouTube, Josh now has a left-handed boxing glove on, and Tanya's eyes are watering. Anyway, Tanya, thank you very much. I'm sure we'll have you on again in the future when we run out of people that want to come on, and we'll go back through and try and get people to come on again. And we will speak to you shortly.
Thank you. Thanks, guys. Really enjoyed it.
Thank you so much.
All right. Take care.
Bye.
Cheers.
Thanks for joining us for today's show. Don't forget to check back weekly for new episodes. If you want to join the UK's largest Facebook group for personal trainers, just search for UK PTs.